Good morning, campers. Today is Monday. It's the 13th of January, 2014. A little after 9 o'clock in the morning, and this is Run It Up To. Welcome back, everyone. We are looking at a table of 25 no-limit Texas Hold'em today as we roll forward with the Run It Up To Bankroll Challenge. Current bankroll, $285.60. So we made some progress last week when we resurrected Run It Up To after the holidays. I played a little 10 no limit, hopped up to 25 no limit, took a quick peek. Things looked kind of just fine. So we're back for some more today. I think last time, first of all, I think I erroneously declared the bankroll to be $300, but it's funny, you get the wrong number if you don't account for your buy-in. So we weren't actually at $300. We were at $275 after our little foray into 25 no limit. But we've added a little bit to that since then, so we're at $285 today. And we're just kind of easing into our standard routine here. Look at number one. See betting like he means it. Not too long ago, I briefly mentioned some more traditional names for our categories of players that we've been using with our colored flags down here. And someone asked in the chat about those colors. So I suppose it's worth going through them really quickly. I did add a little bit of information in the discussion section of the Run It Up To channel, going over those colors and what they mean, but I'm happy to run through them here in case you sort of haven't been with the program since the beginning, or have forgotten, or just want some clarification. So we've got 5 different colors down there. You can also add a white flag for somebody if you just want to make a note without a color. We do that sometimes just to keep track of somebody. Bottom pairs. Not looking too special on this flop. No backup. Certainly could be a standard C bet. Not generally speaking into folding pairs. So let's not fold it. The guy betting into us has a slightly above average stack, so he is a wiener today. Now, 75 cents into 390 is not a whole lot. Let's pop it up. See if he's just joshing with us. Conceivably the kind of thing somebody might do with a couple of diamonds. Maybe a weaker queen, something like that. But he could be trying to sucker us in too. So our 4 could be good here. I don't imagine he's calling. He could maybe fold a 9. So maybe there are some better hands that he'll fold. But we're just going to take a look. Yeah. So we actually quite possibly could have gotten away with that. That's a little sad for us. What can that tell us about number 3? So he's a little bit sticky. For right now, we don't know entirely what that means. Oops. And we've given it to the wrong guy. Given it to the wrong guy. I'm not entirely sure how to take a flag off of somebody. Interesting. So we'll have to try to disregard our orange flag here and remember that this is the one that we meant to place. Okay, so speaking of the flags, let's go through them real quickly here. Excuse me. Orange is somebody who we're not ready to assign a standard category to just yet. Or we're not ready to assign him to a category just yet. But it's somebody we want to keep track of. He's done something noteworthy. Not that it's super noteworthy to just stick with second pair there. But we did potentially make a mistake in the hand. If we had read his check as weak at the end there, there's a reasonable chance he would have folded that. And there was an opportunity we didn't take advantage of. Maybe because of the small bet, the and then the call when we re-raised on the turn. We don't know. I mean, he may be sticky enough to realize that his 9 stood a decent chance of being good there, that maybe he could have interpreted that as us trying to pick it up with a flush draw, something like that, and his check was just a little pot control on the river. So we have some questions about this guy, and we're going to be looking for the answers. So we want to make sure we remember who he is. That's what the orange is all about. Red is somebody who's nitty, somebody whose bets we really want to take seriously. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're always going to have a hand. It could be just a really good, tight, aggressive player. But red is certainly somebody we want to exercise a little caution with. I mentioned in my written rundown of these colors in the discussion section that that math and probability probably plays a bigger role in how we want to approach somebody who's red, because if red is just a decent tag, a tight aggressive player, it could be somebody who's capable of balancing his actions. It's somebody who's capable of reading boards and knowing when he's likely to be ahead with something like second bear. And this guy could be red here. He could be just a little bit tough, and knowing the value of second pair on a board like that is substantial in a way. So red is a guy who could be betting for all kinds of different but legitimate reasons. And there's a donk bet for number 6, but it's a pot-sized donk bet. As often as donking is weak, the bigger donk bets, often as not, it seems to me, are something like top pair, but they don't want to see a heart fall. So they're just trying to take it down right off the bat. Not necessarily true for this guy, but wouldn't be surprised. So when we deal with a red player like that, we're going to have to really sort of look at his patterns, really figure out what he is and isn't capable of betting with. And we'd have to definitely be keeping in mind our range play, knowing that when we make a bet or try to steal a pot or something like that, that we're going to have to try to be pretty specific with how often we think he's bluffing versus how often he's betting with a hand. And then just sort of take our lumps, play those probabilities, as opposed to a lot of what we've been doing at these levels, 10 no limit and 25 no limit, which is essentially reading players and taking their anomalous actions pretty seriously. Perfect example was a hand a couple of maybe last session or the one before, when a guy had a set of 5s, and we just laid down to him because he checked a flop. He was a guy who was c-betting a lot, and then suddenly he checked a flop. And against a red guy, we know that we can't necessarily deduce that, he checks the flop, which is out of the ordinary, or out of character for him, so he must have a hand. We'll be instead trying to answer the question, how often does he have a hand versus how often doesn't he have a hand. But against a lot of these players, including that one in that hand, he didn't c-bet, and we thought that was probably significant in and of itself, and that helped us lay down a hand. And it turns out we were right to do that. So a lot of players were able to read kind of that simply and that straightforwardly, and it's been working out pretty well recently. But again, red guys, we'd have to basically deal with a little less certainty about what's going on and just play those percentages. So that's what red is all about. Yellow is pretty easy to handle. Yellow are players who fold. They fold a lot. They're really passive. They're never betting without hands. They're never calling unless they've got a pair or better. So they're people we kind of typically try to run over. A lot of yellow players are going to be scared of when flush draw is complete and things like that. So lots of kind of stabs to take up pots, and usually we found so far that we're able to pick up lots of pots against yellow players pretty cheaply as well. So they are kind of small but consistent sources of profit. Now green, of course, is your standard calling station, but also pretty passive. So a loose passive player is likely to earn himself a green flag, and of course those people we're betting for value against at these levels the vast majority of the time. Now, sometimes that may mean we're betting ace high for value if he's super loose, and resultingly we're going to conclude that he is playing just an enormously wide range or something. Okay, so let's try to pick this up, see what happens, see how these guys react to a button raise. It could be worse. Lots of hands, of course, he could be calling with. That's pretty coordinated out there. Yeah, I was afraid of that. So 3-1. I think we're going to take a look at a turn. I suspect that this guy is a somewhat capable player. Okay, we don't know yet if he's betting so much to maximize his fold equity or because he thinks we're calling too lightly. So we're going to wait and see what we can learn about 6. In the meantime, we're going to give him... Well, he's not entirely blue yet, but we're going to start off with blue. And blue is our last color, and blue is an aggro monkey, somebody who tries often to take the lead in the hand by doing exactly what he did, check raising, 3-betting pre-flop, those kinds of things. It's usually players who know that aggression is supposed to be good, so they can be somewhat annoying in that you can expect to be re-raised by them often, and that can be a drag when you're trying to pick up pots. But with a little bit of patience, somebody who's blue, if he turned out to be really good and difficult to figure out and was being that aggressive, that could just be that could be a red guy who's just somebody we want to stay away from or something like that. But typically blue guys are the reason they're aggro monkeys and not aggro solids is because they often are going to take it too far. They're not going to know when to quit. So we can trap them, catch them getting a little over aggressive, that kind of thing. Remains to be seen whether 6 is one of those who has any discipline and can lay down when he's probably beat, or if we're going to kind of catch him digging a hole for himself. So that runs through, I think, basically the colors and more or less what they're all about. We think that last week when we started playing a little poker again, that we were using those colors to pretty good effect. Being able to characterize people and have that help our decisions. Of course, red, in terms of how we approach them, when we just talked about blue, we'd probably do a little bit more trapping than usual with blue and try to take advantage of their aggressive tendencies and have them dig a hole for themselves. Like we said, green is somebody we wouldn't be bluffing as often. We'd be betting for value against a lot. Yellow we'd be hammering away at all the time to pick up little pots. Red could be somebody we just avoid. But if they're tight aggressive but they've got a little nitty in them, we will occasionally try to pick up pots against a red guy, knowing that he'll fold without a reasonably strong hand. And sometimes against a red guy, your bet sizes can make all the difference in the world. Red guy could be sticky to the tune of half pot bets or 2/3 bets with a pair, but maybe pot size bet is something that he's only going to call when he's got 2 pair or better, that kind of thing. So another reason we've got to pay really close attention to red guys and really try to pick up on their tendencies. And of course, orange, we're just treading lightly until we've figured out how to approach them. So there you go. That runs down the colors and what we, generally speaking, plan to do against them. Nothing earth-shattering there. That's pretty standard stuff. But it's always good to run through that and be as consciously aware of what you're doing with those things as you can be. Now, despite the hand that when number 6 on our left check raised us there, he has folded twice out of the big blind when we've min raised the small blind. So he may not be blue. He may have just had aces or something like that, and he could be in a reddish category. Remains to be seen. If we got any big YouTube people out there or AV types, interestingly, as I even labeled the last video something about 25 no limit never looking so good, I thought it was because I was going to nail it and get the highest quality YouTube video option in the settings there. As I had on the previous video, we played 2 tables of 10 no limit, or the last 10 no limit session I think we played. I managed to get full high definition out of the YouTube video, and then when we backed down to 1 table, it wasn't quite wide enough, didn't have, I guess, enough screen area to qualify for full HD. So hence our extra space on the sides here. Sorry about that. So 3, it doesn't look like he's going anywhere. We know he was sticking in there with second pair last time. Wouldn't be surprised to see either a king or a queen. So it would be nice if we could just improve. Would have been cool to see another 6 or something under there. I don't think at this point if we bet, I don't get the sense he's going to fold. He knows we were full of it last time. So he'll also call with his draws. Just check call. Interesting and a little bit unfortunate that he made a pair. So twice we think we probably could have taken pots from number 3 if we just stuck with it a little bit longer. Maybe we're feeling passive today. It's just a Monday, you know, and it's raining outside. Hopefully that's not the case, because passive is not really what we want to be overall. Given our druthers. So he's just limping on the button. You know, we just don't know quite yet what it's going to take for him to fold. That could have been a kind of flop to work with, but it would have taken some commitment. And I think we're going to wait for our first, before we get too sticky with him, be in a slightly better position. Maybe have some real equity. So for the third straight time, he folds to our min raise from the small blind. Not typical blue behavior. Blue players, like I said, they usually know enough to know that aggressive is supposed to be good, and they know all about sort of, people's hand ranges. They're aware of the fact that a opening on the button or raising a small blind, min raising is often is not going to be a pretty wide range from a lot of players. So blue guys are often trying to take advantage of that and looking for any opportunity to be aggressive. So the fact that he went 0 for 3 on re-raising us out of the big blind when he had position leads us to believe that he's not quite blue. So let's go ahead and take the blue away from him, as a matter of fact. Usually one of the things that blue... The good advantage of labeling somebody blue is that bottom pair, getting it done. We know ahead of time. It reminds us that somebody has a tendency to 3-bet pre-flop. Oops, meant to make that 75 cents. So that we're not surprised when suddenly a player on our left turns around and re-raises us a ton. And he's just not doing it. Well, we do have a pair. I think... We don't know if he'd really re-raise with a 10 there. It doesn't make the greatest sense, but he certainly would with if a 10, some possibility to do it with pocket pairs, 9s, 7s, 8s, or better 6s than ours. He could be doing it just as a bluff. But again, we don't quite know just yet. That's all right. We're a little stuffed up at the Run It Up 2 headquarters. Lots of nose blown going on today. Dragola. So out of number 2, we get a C-bet, and then he quits on the turn, but then got there on the river. And 1 was very clearly happy to take advantage of that show of weakness to try to pick up the pot. So a guy who does that, it also leads us to believe he could easily have been re-raising us with ace high or something like that in the last hand we played against him. It's the kind of thinking that goes along with blue. Well, let's see if he'll fold one more time. If he does, we might have to make him yellow. Given how much folding he's done, it's weird. Well, that's a horrible card for us. Would he bet pot knowing that if he just made the flush? I think we can't let him re-raise this over and over like this. Even though the heart's kind of a bad card. And this may be a bad move. This may be a little emotional. I may just sort of be sick of it. Okay. So, and he's also making noise in the chat. Blue players, incidentally, are the chattiest players on the whole. I'm going to say they have the greatest likelihood of talking smack in the chat. And, well, okay, some players, honestly, are not paying enough attention to sort of realize how often you're raising them out of the small blind. He actually lets us know right away, I knew you were re-raising the big blind every time with baloney. So, it's nice to have a little bit of insight. Guy's just trying to make a move. But, you know, that's not the way to make a move. He could have sort of 3-bet us any one of those times, and he didn't. Well, I guess except then. Call 3-bet with 4-6 off. What a donk. Maybe he doesn't remember that. So he's just got 141 left. Maybe he doesn't remember that he was 3-betting with Jack 5. Hey, look at that. Just in time for number 1 up there. So 6 is, well, you know, but again, it's that weird combo. If he was really that ticked off about it, you'd think he would have done something about it sooner. I mean, he did re-raise this in that first hand. So his willingness to do it with, well, I mean, he had top pair. He could be the kind of guy who knows he's supposed to be aggressive, knows when people are being aggressive against him, but just doesn't have the guts to sort of stick with a hand until he's made something. And then he says, oh, sweet, I've got top pair, and he gets carried away with it. So maybe not a fully formed poker education just yet. Oh, he kept going that time without top pair. It's worse than top pair. So I think we're going to leave 6 orange for now with a potentially blue tint. Come on, buddy. Look at that flop. You got to do it. Do it. Bet. Bet. Oh. And now he shuts down again. Let's see if 1 tries to take advantage again. Sure enough, there's the move. And yet again, number 2 got there on the river. So 2 is seems like something of a one-stab C-better, and then let it. I don't know. It's hard to say whether he was only check because he picked up some equity. I guess so. An interesting collection of folks, I guess. Not super squarely in their categories. Except 1 there. He's been pretty blue, it looks like. But then again, it's hard to say whether he would be that blue with a big stack, with a full stack or not. Some people change their tendencies depending on how much they've got. Ace, queen, no good. Alright, so 6 seems like the kind of guy who could do some serious steaming. See if he gets in the chat and lets us know that he's steaming. Nope, he's had enough. He's outie. Well, seemed like didn't realize there was that much to think about in that hand. But maybe 4 just being sure. Well, that's kind of a nice looking flop for us. And kind of a nice looking turn card as well, if we're going to try to pick it up right here and now. Okay, now considering the way we've seen him play so far, we never think that he's doing this as a pure bluff. I think that's going to be the end of that for us. Not the same guy who was up there before. Alright, so no C-bet. And he folds. A board like that seems a little bit odd. Early indications that he could be a little passive. The pot that he won his money in was when he had a set of aces. So he could be nitty-ish, red, the red end of the spectrum. So, a little unlikely that he's calling us with top pair. More likely that he's working with diamonds, which we would want to continue. Boy, now we really hope it's top. It was second pair or something like that. And of course, if it was diamonds, I don't think there's a huge likelihood now that he's going to bluff at it. I think we can go something in the middle. Maybe he'll turn around. And of course, he could actually have a 10. There we go. You were never ahead, buddy. All right. So, we don't imagine he's calling a ton of the time. Okay, interesting. So, I wonder if the king will scare him off a 9, something like that. Ace deuce of diamonds is something that we wouldn't want him to show up with, for example, but especially considering the check. We've got a lot of confidence. He's folding his draws. He, well, gosh, darn it. Set over set. Overpair? We're going to have to find out. Okay. All right, so things going our way. The 10 no limit run good. Finally caught up with us here at 25 no limit. All right, so one is definitely on the blue side of things, throwing money at it to try to win, and he, now that he's exposed, he decides he's gonna just head out. As a matter of fact, I think we might head out. I mean, why not just book our win and move on? So let's see what our win is exactly. $53.18. So that win of what, $28.18 brings us all the way up to $313.78. So we're still going gangbusters. Really liking poker in the new year. And yeah, cold and everything. We're going to call it a decent way to start the day. And ideally, what we'd really love to see... Now, sometimes after a pot like that last one, some people will suddenly kind of knit it up against you and say, I don't want to lose pots to that guy again. And they may sort of tighten up in the way they approach you. We don't necessarily know that that's what he did there. But I do know that oftentimes that happens. Now, sometimes people get really annoyed and they start steaming, and then they're more likely to go after you. But there is also sometimes an effect where they tighten up. They don't want to lose another one to you. So one wonders if that could have been what happened there. It would be consistent with the evidence, as we like to say. So thanks for stopping by. With any luck, if we can keep this going a little bit longer and keep nudging the bankroll in that upwardly direction, sooner or later, we would look forward to opening a couple of tables of 25 no limit, doubling our pleasure, doubling our profits, hopefully. So thanks for stopping by. Hope we cleared things up in terms of our flags and how we're applying them and how we're approaching these different styles of play. Hope everyone is well and staying flu and cold free out there. Tune in soon for more Run It Up 2 action. We'll see you then. Adios.